House Republicans have launched a new task force to look at the Chinese government's role and potential culpability in the spread of coronavirus beyond China's borders back in December. Joining me now is a member of that newly formed brand new task force, Florida Congressman Michael Waltz. Congressman, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jillian. Thanks for covering this.
So as I understand it, this new task force is looking a little backwards, looking at what China's government knew when they knew it, and then it's also looking a little forwards, how to hold the Chinese government potentially accountable. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this was clearly a cover-up, and I think you will see a number of groups help unfold what China has done to unleash this virus and to not manage it. But I think we're also, as you mentioned, looking forward. And what I like about this task force is it has representatives from all over the country, all types of rural, urban, and other districts. And it covers a wide variety of committees, everything from trade to finance to health to education, of course, military, because what China is doing, as it explicitly seeks to dominate a new world order where it calls the shots, not the United States, is it has a whole of society, whole of government approach. And that's how we're looking to combat what they're doing from the United States perspective.
One thing the task force doesn't have, though, is Democrats. And we've seen reports this week that Speaker Pelosi originally was going to join up with you guys. It was going to be a bipartisan task force, but she later reneged. Tell us about what went wrong.
Well, I don't know why she reneged, but this has been these negotiations have been ongoing from some time. I think Democrats absolutely should be involved. This is a national security issue. In fact, I think this will be the national security issue, much like how we had to face the Soviet Union for most of the 20th century. This will be the case for the 21st century. This shouldn't be about politics, but I think two things are at play here. Number one, presidential election year. Joe Biden is so bad on this issue, he thinks the rise of China to compete and eventually try to dominate America is an okay thing. He's on record many times as doing that. And then number two, this kind of narrative the Democrats want to craft, that anytime we want to deal with China, it's a distraction from their perspective of what they believe were President Trump's failings. That's just ridiculous. This is about dealing with what I think is the most existential threat to the United States, to liberty around the world, to a free world order that we've ever faced.
So is the task force, I guess this is really a two-part question for you. Number one, is the task force planning to do investigating of its own? And then number two is, once you have a handle on what the Chinese government knew about the virus and when we got the facts and the timeline ironclad, are you going to present your findings to President Trump, or where do you hope to take it, I guess is the question.
So we'll incorporate a lot of what the intelligence community is doing. We'll receive a series of classified briefings. But I think what you'll see coming out of this is really pulling together a number of efforts. Julian, we've talked about what we're trying to do to bring our supply chains home, how we're blocking our federal pensions and even several dozen of our state pension plans from investing in Beijing, how they're stealing our technology, trying to put our companies out of business economically, and then, of course, compete with us militarily. So, what you're going to see is pulling all of that together for some legislative packages and then recommendations to the president.
Yep. Another really important element of that package you're working on is seeking to hold the Chinese Communist Party responsible for what you're calling infiltration of U.S. universities. Tell us about the Chinese efforts on that front.
Well, I don't know that many Americans appreciate. There's over 400,000 Chinese students in our universities as we speak. That doesn't make them bad kids. What they need to understand is that they're victims. The Chinese Communist Party forces them to vacuum up our technology, robotics, advanced materials, artificial intelligence, and send it back to Beijing, where it gets fast-tracked right to the Chinese military. That's one piece. The other piece is they're actually recruiting American professors through what they call China's Talents Program. These professors are taking hundreds of billions of dollars into their institutions in taxpayer-funded research funding and these advanced technologies and then going and moonlighting over in Beijing's universities, including the Wuhan Institute of Technology, my legislation seeks to stop both. We cannot, look, China is looking to dominate us technologically, then economically, and then eventually militarily. It's in Chinese leadership writings, and it has to stop.
Right. Well, Congressman, we got to leave it there. An important message. We all know that whoever dominates in artificial intelligence dominates the future of the globe, really. So thanks for bringing that to us, and we will check back with you soon.
I think a silver lining in all of this is a wake-up call, Jillian. Thanks so much.
You bet. Leland?